Hey, is this Mr. Wilson? He's like, yeah, this is Mr. Wilson. Hey, Mr. Wilson, I'm actually calling about 123 Main Street from XYZ Company. And then, bam, hang up on you, click, you're done. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex. I'm a real estate investor, and I want to make these videos to share with you the challenges I'm experiencing, things I'm overcoming, and hopefully you can use this information to accelerate your own journey and avoid a lot of the pitfalls that I definitely fell into. So, today I want to talk about how to cold call. And the beautiful thing about cold calling is it's such a low barrier to entry. It's an excellent place for everyone to start, build so many awesome skills. It can be pretty much free. So I highly recommend pretty much everybody to start with cold calling. And I want to talk about three main things around cold calling in this video. So one, I want to just cover what tools you need, how do you get started. Second is I want to cover what to say on the phones, how to sound, what to do there, what to talk about. And the third thing is just what to do after the call, right? The post call. So what tools do you need for cold calling? The beautiful thing here is you really don't need that much, right? You need someone to call, a way to call them, and a script, right? Just what to say. So in terms of someone to call, right, that's your data. That's your list of people who potentially might need your help. I have other videos on how to pull lists, how to get lists, where they come from, and what they are. But so check out those videos if you want to pull your own list, or if you want my data, like I've already paid for this, I just give it to you for free. If you want data in Dubuque, let me know. I've got plenty of it. You can definitely call. We can partner on some deals. I'll be your buyer. So let me know there. So that's the data. That's just someone to call. Second is a way to call them. So your cell phone. Cell phone works totally fine. I did that forever. Eventually, I got a little bit smarter and I realized I could use Google Voice, which is also free and it's just way faster, right? I had two monitors, so you can just literally go to your data here, Control C, and then Control V into Google Voice. Just copy and paste, hit enter, it'll call much faster. Another big advantage of Google Voice is you can record your calls, which you definitely want to do. The best athletes watch game tape, so you need to be listening to your calls and using that to improve yourself for sure. The step above Google Voice is a dialer. So unfortunately, it's not free. It's going to start to cost you some money to get a dialer. But if you have the $100 or $120 a month or whatever it is, it's definitely worth it. Essentially, a dialer, probably a triple line dialer, is what you'd use. Is a software that allows you to basically call like three numbers at once. When somebody answers, it drops the other two, but it essentially is a huge time saver, and your amount of conversation time and the time you're actually talking to people is going to go way up. And that's a super powerful tool. If you have the $100, I would recommend doing that. If not, it's totally fine. You can rock out with Google Voice for a long time too, but just know it will be slower. The third thing you're going to need is a script. So just what to say. And I definitely don't want you to overthink this too much, right? The more you try to script and structure this entire conversation, the more robotic it's going to be, the less human connection, the less rapport you're going to build. So you definitely don't want that. So for me, at least, a script is more about like an intro. Like that part I can pretty much script because that's going to be almost the same on every single call. And then a framework for what I want to talk about for the rest of the call. So for me, the intro is really just a pattern interrupt. You definitely don't want to sound like every other cold caller out there. Like, hey, is this Mr. Wilson? He's like, yeah, this is Mr. Wilson. Hey, Mr. Wilson, I'm actually calling about 123 Main Street from XYZ Company. And then, bam, hang up on you, click, you're done. So you definitely don't want to sound like that. Instead, I really like to, I come in, talk to them, call them like just like they're my best friend. Hey Dave, it's Alex, how's it going? And it's like, okay, Alex, do I know Alex? Gets him thinking. At least he's not like immediately on the defensive mode, like another one of these cold callers, another person trying to sell me something, XYZ, right? So there's a bunch of really good intros. Steve Trang has a really good one that's kind of like a lost puppy, like, man, I've been looking for this owner. You're probably not the owner, and just sound defeated. That's very effective. You can come in and be like, hey Dave, this is Alex. How's it going? Oh, good, man. A couple of months ago, we were actually talking about this property on Main Street. You probably already got that one sold. No, I didn't. No, I didn't get sold. That's another very effective one that I like. you really just essentially don't want to sound like a cold caller. Don't sound like a robot. Don't sound like every other terrible investor out there calling. So that's really the important thing on the intro. In terms of the rest of the conversation, what to talk about, it's essentially you want to get the four pillars, right? Motivation, timeline, condition, and price. So that's the four pieces of information you're going to need to do a deal in real estate. You need that information to decide if this person is even a lead and if they're worth talking to. So that is definitely what you're going to be talking about on this call. So what to say when you're actually cold calling, right? So like I was saying before with the intro, step number one, be confident, hook them, get their attention, right? You don't want to put them on their heels, sound like a cold caller. You want to be very, very confident. You want to hook them, get their attention. Another thing, definitely need to build rapport. This is super important because if you don't build rapport, like when you go to ask these hard questions, they're totally going to blow you off. They're not going to give you any information. They're going to give you one-word answers. They're going to get upset with you. You're probably going to yell at you. And also there's the saying that friends get deals, everybody else gets retail. That Caroline Kane likes to say a lot, which I definitely agree with. So rapport is super, super important. Good ways to basically build rapport is sound confident, sound credible. You want to, if you can, make them laugh as soon as possible. That's a very good one. Find something you have in common. So people like people who are like themselves. That's effective as well. Complimenting them, like lots of times I'm talking to landlords, they've got more units than me or whatever. Like I'm asking them for advice. I'm asking them what action steps I should be taking. You want to do it in a way that doesn't lower your status, but you want to do it in a way that does like acknowledge that their accomplishment and what they've done, right? So, like I said, if you don't build that rapport, it's going to be impossible to ask these hard questions, and it's going to be impossible to throw out your low cash offer or convince them to go sell their property on terms, which is unconventional. So yeah, that's a super important step. In terms of what you're allowed to say on phones, there's only 3 things you're allowed to say on phones when you're talking to sellers. The first is you're allowed to use open-ended questions. The second is you're allowed to have validating statements in their response to your open-ended questions. And the third thing you're allowed to say is third-party stories. If it doesn't fit in one of those 3 categories, you're not allowed to say it. Just scrap it from your arsenal, take it out of the playbook. Do not say it. So in terms of open-ended questions, right, these are questions that are going to help you build rapport, get information from the seller, figure out what's going on, figure out if you can help, right? It's a question that cannot be answered with like a yes or no, right? So examples would be like, what's even got you interested in selling? Can you catch me up to speed on the property? Or once you build up that rapport and you start to really get into those good questions, what happens if you don't sell this property? That's another really good one. Validating statements. So those are statements that are acknowledging what the seller's saying. You're making them feel heard, making them feel understood. That's super important for building rapport as well. So these are going to be things like, they say, I'm selling because my tenants are terrible, or I'm a tired landlord, or XYZ, right? You would come in and be like, man, I totally understand. Like maybe you try to connect with your own recent tenant problem, or my partner has these tenant problems, or yeah, man, I totally understand. I know being a landlord could be a massive headache. Something along those lines. Just let them know you heard what you said. Don't just roll into your next open-ended question, because then it feels more like, okay, you've got this list of questions that you're just going down and you're just asking. You're not even hearing what they're saying. So validating statements are very powerful. The last thing you're allowed to say is third-party stories. So a third-party story is a story about another seller that this current seller can see themselves in, and you want it to be as similar as possible. You can use other deals you have going on. You can use your partner's deals. You can use my deals, whatever. Doesn't matter. But it's a story that you can use to kind of present a solution, right? So, for example, when I'm pitching terms to somebody, when I want them to sell to me unconventionally, so I can maybe get them more money or help them accomplish this goal or XYZ, right? I only do it in the form of a third party story. So you could say like, yeah, I just actually bought this property from a guy named Robbie. I was actually able to come in, pay probably 10-15% over market value. I paid all the closing costs, and essentially I just upgraded Robbie to the bank, right? So I could get him equal monthly payments, just like he's the bank. He was able to, whatever, save on taxes, get his purchase price, just be done with the property, stop being a landlord, whatever the seller was talking about that their problems were. You want to put that in your third party story. Use that third party story, and then come at them with like, how come something like that would not work in your situation? And then that's how you present the terms, right? Only in the form of a third party story. Has a 10 times better effective rate than being like, oh man, I know what you should do. You should sell to me in terms. It's like night and day. It's crazy. So third party stories, super, super powerful. Also use them to overcome objections like the classic, I'm too old to sell on terms. Well, you can tell them a third party story about a seller you just bought that was 95 years old that just sold to you on a 35-year term because they had two options, right? One, they could pass down this property to their heirs. That property needed a ton of maintenance. Their heirs didn't know how to deal with that. Their heirs didn't know how to deal with tenants. Instead of doing that, passing down this problem property to their tenants that have no experience in real estate, that would have been an absolute disaster. Instead, they passed down this cash flowing note that just spits out cash every single month to them. They don't got to worry about maintaining the property or evicting tenants or anything like that, right? So you can use a third party story to overcome objections. That's also very effective. And the last thing I want to talk about is the successful follow up. So this is the kind of the post call and kind of the end of the call that you're initially on to. So at the end of that call, you always want to set up your next call. The best way to do that is usually to give them homework. You want to, maybe if you're talking about terms, you need to give them homework to think about what terms would work for them, what terms would make sense for them because they're the bank, right? We want their terms first. If you can't give them homework, sometimes you can give yourself homework. It's not as good, but it still works for sure. And you want to set up a specific time that you're going to be on the phone, and you want to emphasize that it's a specific time, that you take your time seriously, and that you don't want to like just mess around. It's not like a willy-nilly like, yeah, I'll call you some other time, whenever. This lets them know that you're serious, you're professional, and you value your time highly, and you're working with other people, and they can't just like blow you off, right? So it definitely raises your status when you do something like that. And on top of that, it raises the percentage of time that they actually answer the phone too when they know it's serious. So 10 out of 10, I recommend that for sure. So, but after you get off the call, you need to collect and organize this information. You want to enter detailed notes into your CRM. And your CRM can be a couple notebooks. It doesn't matter. It can be, you can pay for a CRM. You can do free ones, Google Sheets, whatever. But enter detailed notes wherever you got them. It's going to be really tempting because, especially in the beginning, you haven't really talked to that many people, and you're not talking to that many people per day, and all these deals are new. You're going to remember every detail pretty well, but as you go on, you start to talk to more and more people. It's like you're going to forget everything. So take the time. I know it sucks. Enter those detailed notes into your CRM, what the next steps are, set that follow-up date, go from there. And then follow up with them. So this is insane to me, but pretty much 90% of other people don't follow up. I guess you could say complimented on that by sellers all the time. Like, yeah, you guys are the only ones that are actually consistent. Call me back. Like, you can blow through 90% of your competition by literally just following up when you said you were going to follow up, which it blows my mind, but hey, I'll take it, I guess. So make sure you do that. It's such an easy one. Most people aren't doing it. Be consistent. It'll help you build that rapport, show your credibility, build that trust between you and the seller as well. And then, yeah, it's crazy because it's not even like a skill thing. It's just a decision. So it's just real easy. It's just a real quick one. Just make that decision. Yep, I'm going to follow up. The last thing is you definitely want to record all your calls. Like I was saying before, Google Voice, you can record your calls or however you want to do it. It really is the best way to improve. You can write down all the things that went well, all the things that didn't go well. You can share those calls with other people. Feel free to send me those calls. Let's break them down. Let's see what you did well, see what you didn't, and it's just a super effective way of call calibrations, right? To better yourself. So definitely make sure you want to do that. So in conclusion, for the tools you need to start cold calling, you just need someone to call, aka a list of people that might need your help. A way to call them, aka your cell phone, a dialer, Google Voice, something along those lines. You need a script, just the general outline of what to say, and then just a way of tracking that information, right? So a CRM of some type. On the phones, the key things here, you want confidence, you want to build rapport, you're only allowed to say third party stories, validating statements, and open ended questions. That's it. That's if it's not one of those things, you're not allowed to say it. In terms of the post call, write good notes, make sure to follow up, be consistent. The fortune is in the follow up for real. So most real estate deals, I think on average it's on the 14th follow up is usually when the deal is done. So people expect to do these like one call closes, which they happen, but especially off a cold call, it's just like it's crazy unrealistic expectation. I would set the expectation that it's going to take 30 follow-ups, and then when it only takes 14, you're going to be pumped, right? So definitely follow up, definitely be consistent. Definitely, you're going to blow your competition out of the water if you just do that. And then continuously improve, listen to your calls, record your calls. And that's pretty much everything you need to know to start cold calling and start doing deals. Like I said, cold calling is a super low barrier to entry. It builds a lot of skills. It's pretty much free, and it's effective. It works. Just everybody's doing it. So, and there's a reason everyone's doing it. It's because it's effective. Yeah. If you found this valuable, let me know by dropping a like, dropping a comment, and let me know what you guys want to see on the next video. So, peace out.